Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 11th panel of FutureCon 2020. I'm Jana Bianchi. I'm a writer, translator from Brazil. I'm an editor. And today we will be talking in this panel about the melting pot of creativity in Brazil. So this is one of the panels about the South America, specifically about Brazil. And first, I will say some things before I introduce my guests, my friends that are here with me. The first thing is that you that are in the chat, in the YouTube, you can send questions whenever you want. You can send it now or during the whole panel, because we have people, we're talking about them, sending the questions to us. We can fit them between the discussion or talk about it in the end. If you are okay listening in English, but you are not okay writing in it, you can write in Portuguese that I can translate in the panel. So don't be shy, just write your question in Portuguese and I will translate for everybody. If you're liking the event, we are doing all of that like voluntarily. And if you can support FutureCon in our website. We have a button there. You can donate any value you want. So we will be paying all the arts that you saw, all the beautiful arts in the Twitter and the website. We'll be paying the tech guy, Thiago Lee, who is here, strong, doing everything, like the 4 days working with all the technical stuff. Also, if you like the conversation, if you would like to talk more about all the topics, you can join us in the Discord. We have a server there. In your website, you have the link, and probably the guys will be sending the link in the YouTube chat too. You can enter there. Our Discord will be on for like a long time, forever, if you can. So we'll be discussing that along the year, until the next FutureCon. All the videos will be live, will be recorded in YouTube like forever too. So if you couldn't watch the other videos, you can go there and watch whenever you want. You can share with your friends too. You can give a thumbs up in this video so YouTube shows the other videos for everybody. And I would like to thank Fabio Fernandes, that is from the staff, and that he is there in the YouTube chat talking with everybody. And also Iana, that's helping us picking the questions and sending the questions to us. Thank you guys for coming, for helping. So first of all, I would like to ask to each one of our guests to introduce. So I will say the order so you can introduce yourselves. And I would like to know your work, what you do, and also your relationship with science fiction. So let's start I will start in the order I'm seeing here. So Renan, could you start?
Sorry, a bit of a problem with my microphone. So my name is Renan Bernardo. I live in Rio de Janeiro. I write science fiction and fantasy in Portuguese and English. Sometimes I write horror too, but mostly science fiction and fantasy, and mainly short fiction for now. I'm really focused on short fiction. I have stories published in several places in Brazil, anthologies, magazines. I have an upcoming story in Faísca, which is a flash fiction magazine, edited by our moderator, Fernanda Castro. I'm also published in Italy by Future Fiction. It's a solar punk story. And next year, I will have a story, the same story in the Chinese market, translated to Chinese. And also my short story, A Norma Aqui de Cima, is a finalist for this year Odisseia Award, which is a Brazilian award, science fiction and fantasy award. And I'm also a computer engineer, and I work with scientific computing.
Good. So next, Clau, could you present yourself?
I'm Claudia Dugim, teacher, writer, and editor. I'm writing 4 novels, but just one was being published recently, Killing Giants, Matando Gigantes. I wrote quite a bit of short stories published in the internet publishers and magazines and sites. I have a lot of stuff. I like writing funny things, weird things, nonsense things. My first encounter with science fiction was when I was 10 years old and I read Jules Verne. So that's it. Oh, as a queer person, I like to write queer characters, meaningful queer characters.
It's good. So I think we all have like long stories with science fiction, right? Everybody like
yes, I have the longest.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So next to Waldson, who is published by the same publishing house than me. So we are like partners in the publishing house.
Hi everyone, my name is Waldson Souza. I am a writer and also a researcher, and I live in Brasilia. Last year, I released my first book. It's actually a novella called Oceanic. And I also have short stories on Mafagafo, Faísca, and on my master degree, I study Afrofuturism in Brazil, especially the recent production from 2014 until 2017. So, and next year I will release another novella by Plutão Livros, and it's called O Homem que Não Transbordava. That English will be something like The Man Who Did Not Overflow, and is about a secret society of genetically modified Black humans that are practically immortal and drink human emotions. And I think that's it.
Good, great. So I think we will have a very nice conversation because I have person from all backgrounds and who write different things and who research or work with different things. And I think it has something to do with the first question that I would like to raise. That's when we talk about Brazilian science fiction, actually, when we talk about Brazilian anything, it's very hard to say it's the Brazilian stuff because we are very like huge country, and we have different communities across the country. I think this is true for other countries too, but I think due to of our history of different colonization from different places and all this kind of mixing of different people and things like that, we have very different communities and very different ways of thinking and ways of writing too, right? So I would like to talk about how do you think we could at the same time develop a very mature body of work of Brazilian science fiction. I think we are like right now in a very good moment of like professionalization and people knowing what they are writing and doing that with more like care with all the plot and also the narrative. But how could we do that without homogenizing that in a way that wouldn't work? We can't like force people to, okay, so if you want to write a real Brazilian science fiction, you need to write about that, or you need to write about with this setting. How do you think we could do that? I think we will keep the same order for this first question. So Renan, could you start?
Yes, didn't forget the microphone this time. So my opinion on this might be a bit controversial because I think that some degree of maturation of the market involves homogenization. And there has to be some kind of homogenization. For example, I think the English-speaking short fiction market is a lot more standardized than our Brazilian market. It might sound like a paradox because they have 20, 50, 100 times more publishers and magazines. and opportunities than we have here in Brazil. But also, we read too many stories of the Anglophone world. The impression is that only a few markets are willing to take certain risks to differentiate themselves from others. And and even though they still keep publishing excellent fiction, but with time they need an active effort to try to be different to avoid this homogenization. For example, I think here in Brazil right now, from the things I read, I think our market gives a lot of a different push into structure, themes, and narrative arcs, and above all, cultural aspects that are completely different of what is found and expected in the English-centered world. But the changes or the lack of changes come when the market starts to grow and develop some sort of maturation. And then there are more readers, more publishers, more editors. They're all gathering. Writers and editors are consuming the things they like, both from local markets, from Brazil, as from the outside markets. And this, I think, this tends to reflect a lot on what they write and publish it. And it's kind of a loop. If you keep on this for long enough, you're bound to some kind of convergence. I think it's natural up to a certain degree, but writers and editors must actively avoid falling into this loop or this comfort zone. They should keep experimenting, they should keep writing and publishing what they want. Uh, and stop thinking, oh, this doesn't sound like the right thing for the market. This doesn't sound like something the readers want. Um, I know big publishers often mean less risk and more certainty. But it often means more formulaic stories, more formulaic fiction. Uh, so more formulaic stories, but might have a better chance with some of the big names. So that's why smaller names are a lot important in avoiding this kind of homogenization. I know money talks, and I know that's important. But if we only write and publish what sells, this homogenization will happen a lot faster. So we can avoid that if we are conscious of it. And one of the dangers that we have here, and I think also all non-English markets have everywhere in the world, is the risk of imitation. The risk of imitation the classics from England and from United States, and not only in themes, but also in structure, in style, and arcs. We 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 have to avoid this imitation. We need to try to be different somehow. We have to break this barrier of consuming mostly fiction of Anglophone sources, and because here in Brazil we have a very close relationship with some places like Latin America, Portugal, and even our own stuff, because we are 200 million people. We have the area of a continent. We have the potential to be a powerful market like China, like India, like the United States itself. But we have to consume stories from ourselves, from everywhere, every region in Brazil, and also from other countries. Um, so we can amplify the sense of who we are, who we want to be, and what kind of stories we are able to tell that no one else, that only Brazilians can tell.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of natural, but I see what we said about risking without risking money, and that how this leads to different things when we talk about the short fiction market here in Brazil, because we have like few magazines that are really active, but these magazines are all like, I have Mafagafo and Faísca, and we are receiving a lot of material. We can't, it's sometimes we can't handle that. What shows, of course, that people are trying to produce different things, and we publish things that I'm sure that are great, wonderful. I will give an example. One of the best things I read recently about from Brazilians, the Cyber Buchicho from Sergio Mota. It's a great story, and I am like, unfortunately, I'm quite sure a big publishing house wouldn't publish it because it's too different, in format and in theme, but it's wonderful and I love it. And we could publish it in Mafagafo, and lots of people like read it and said it was great and things like that. So I agree on that. So now I would like to ask Claudia, if you want to add something on that. You're muted. You need to unmute. Yes.
Okay. No, that was okay. I go for a different way on Renan Bernardo. It's not an opposite way, a different approach. Okay. I don't know what you mean by mature when you receive the question. And first, because I think we have a mature body of writers, a mature body of speculative fiction, because we are Latin American, and we had Cortázar and I forgot the name of my favorite Latin American author.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or
no. Oh God. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. No.
Yes. If we are talking about technique, I disagree. Firstly, because people are not academic educated. We are not at all. We don't have universities that teach us how to write. Most of our literature sounds, not that it has, as they have a lack of technique. But it is a world phenomenon. I don't know if you know that, but if you know, I'm sorry. But people are writing due to the fact that they are able to write. That is a skill they don't have before. They don't have this skill of writing. For the first time in human history, 50% of the people could read and understand what they read. That is different from reading their name or make an account. Consequently, writing starts to make sense for those people. So a lot of people are writing. So you say that you receive a lot of material that you wouldn't be able to publish. That's it, you know. Deixa eu ver aqui minhas notas. So what is more, we have a major writer that I might have seen. Sorry, my cat is on the table.
The cats have priority, so
Cats on the table, yeah. We have mature writers that might have seen as a mature body if we had mature publishers. You know, our traditional publishing house are not mature enough to accept writers as Braulio Tavares. That is a genius. And Carlos Orsi. We have a diversity today in Brazil. Lua Inzaila, Fábio Cabral writing Afrofuturism. I think Waldson also write Afrofuturism. I'm sorry, I haven't heard about your writing before. sorry. And we have coastal and urban sertão punk. That is a sertão punk. It's a kind of a northeast literature, Brazil northeast literature from Gigi Diniz. We have also writers from outlying ghettos. I'm from an outlying ghetto too, like Cirilo Lemos, Israel Neto Hell, and also Cristina Lasaites, Leaders Wing. We needed to express ourselves. It doesn't matter how. Doesn't matter how difficult it is to publish it. It doesn't matter because everybody is doing that. This is an important force, more than an importance of marketing this. There is the importance of be ourselves. And again, if our literature will be blended into a book of writing, traditional publishing houses must be blamed for. No? That's my opinion.
I totally agree. I totally agree on editing. And also, when we talk about editing, publishing houses and things like that, I think we are talking about this I don't know how to say that, but which works you are publishing, but also we are talking about editing, the editing process, the editing of seeing somebody who writes very well, who have a great idea, and to work together with these people. I think we in the Anglophone world, we have this figure in the agent. So the agents are working closely with the authors to work not only each work, but also the career of the person. So I think I totally agree on that. I totally agree on that. And I think that's why like short fiction publishing and also the crowdfunding publishing, not when somebody just go there and publishing the crowdfunding, but like small publishing houses that are doing this work. As an example, Waldson said about Plutão, we will be publishing him. Plutão is an example of a publishing house who that is taking the works and working them, like editing them and publishing them digitally nowadays, but who knows? So Waldson, do you want to add on that?
So I think I agreed more with Claudia, and because when we look to the context of our literature is already homogeneous. When I speak, and my main concern is about race, and that's why because I study Afrofuturism. And when I begin to study Afrofuturism, I just found 3 books on that. It was 2017 when I began to study. And one of my many concerns was how can I talk about a whole movement with only 3 people writing? I think when I say that our literature is already homogeneous, is that because 54% of our population in Brazil is Black. And when we look to our literature, we don't see that. This is not reflect on even in who is writing or even in the characters inside the works in the books. So white men are the group that is published the most, regardless the literary genre. And think about speculative fiction. Things are changing a bit, I believe, because we already have more works valuing our experience as Brazilians and individuals that is more than maybe 10 years ago when we used to say people, you don't have to imitate international works to write. So you can write your story here in Brazil, don't have to be in London or USA. So that was a big step in my opinion. And it's great to see that Afrofuturism is growing. And also, like Claudia said about Sertão Punk, is a really, really new movement that was created by 3 Black authors. thinking specifically about the Northeast, né? And how these people are represented in speculative fiction, because we have a lot of problem with stereotypes. And however, I think even with the, I can see more people, Black people publishing, especially on Twitter, because we end being closer because we see what people are doing. These authors is still on the independent publication and small publishers, and that's I think we have to consider it, because I think one of the point of this panel, for example, is show literature for the world. So when you look to literature, you don't see the reality reflect. When I think about this diversity, things are again begin to change, but is small steps that already give me hope that things is getting better. And I like to remember one thing that Viola Davis said when she won the Emmy for Best Actress. She's talking about the importance of opportunities, and I think is one way to change things, because we need these opportunities, even if it is necessary, create specific submissions or contests for Black authors, LGBT people, people with disability, and other groups that is writing but don't receive the same attention. So, and the next panel, I guess, is about this, that what editors can do to make change, because some change is happen is slow when it's from inside, and when if we have the editors contribute to that diversity, I think is one way that we can change things.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, we get back to editor editing, and this is very important to say. And I wish there's a lot of editors who are watching that, or who will watch later, because I think we need to work like because in a sense, the editors and the publishing houses have the power and have the money. So it's much easier to make this change, like from, I would say, upside down, but in a term of power and money and not importance or anything like that. So I think it's like I totally agree. And I think we can go to the next question, because I see there are some questions from the chat already, and I think we can get back to this point later when we talk about the other questions, because I would like to we say there's a lot of ways of doing a Brazilian science fiction. And I think in the beginning, when you start to think about that, the first thing that comes to mind is like setting. So, okay, I will write something that is set in Brazil or in a place that is like that. But I think there's also other ways of talking about the experience of being Brazilian without necessarily going to the places or to the environment, because you can write, I don't know, science fiction in space and still talk a lot about the Brazilian experience. And I would like to talk a little bit about that. And I think we could start talking about your works. So I will ask everybody to talk a little bit about how do you try, or how do you indeed put the Brazilian experience in your works. And I think we can go also like talk about setting too, but talk about teams maybe. So the first example, big example that more people will be able to grasp, especially people that are not from Brazil, that comes to my mind is the 3%, the series from Netflix that talks about meritocracy, the myth of meritocracy. It talks about 3% of a population that have the right to be in a place that's nice and everything like that, and they need to fight, and there are people that are not leveled when they are fighting for these 3% places. So I think this is a good example of a team that, of course, it's set in Brazil, I guess, 2%, but doesn't matter. The idea is that talks about how it's to live like in Brazil. So let's start with Renan, and then Claudia and Waldson.
Okay. In my case, it really depends on what I'm writing, but I always try to imbue my work with a Brazilian face somehow. For example, my short story that was released in A Taverna magazine. It's a Brazilian magazine. Uh, it's a dystopia that talks deeply about life in Brazil, mainly in my state where I live, in my city, in Rio de Janeiro. I also have other stories about Rio de Janeiro, and some unpublished. One that will be released next year. It's a novelette in which explore the resilience of communities in a Rio de Janeiro after the severe consequences of global warming. I like to explore in my works how inequalities can shape the life of people uh, in the future, be it a dark future or a hopeful future, and also how inequalities could completely cease to exist. For example, you you said to talk about our works. The setting of the last story I wrote is a Brazil with a lot fewer problems than we have right now. It's a challenge to imagine a Brazil with fewer problems, but it's set in a Johnny party that never ends, and energy of the people dancing and partying is used to bring power to surrounding communities. It's completely focused on internal conflict because this external conflict is sort of sorted out already. So it's quite a hopeful story, a hopeful story, and I think we need hopeful stories right now, everywhere in the world, but mainly here in Brazil. And and still, I'm a white privileged male in Brazil, so there are people with completely different points of views and stories to tell, without on different Brazilian perspectives, without even leaving Rio de Janeiro. So if we extend this to other regions of the country, we have hundreds of Brazilian aspects and voices and stories, and we have different science fiction subgenres arising here in Brazil, and these subgenres, they are not focused on Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo, because Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo, for people watching from outside of Brazil, Rio and São Paulo, they concentrate a lot of money and the voices that appear on the television and everything. So it's cool to see that the subgenres of science fiction that are arising here, like Claudia and Waldson said, the Sertão Punk or Amazon Futurism, they are rising in other regions of Brazil. And another aspect that I like to explore more in my writing, and that I already do explore actually, what means to be old here in Brazil? What means to be a young student? What means to be a woman? What means to be a child? It's not the same as other countries. It's not equal to developed countries. For example, old people here in Brazil are not like old people in developed countries. Most old people here in Brazil don't just retire. They keep working. They have to keep working to live. Also, students don't have. They come out of the university. They don't have only one job. Most students often have more than one job, or maybe two, or maybe three jobs even, so they can pay for the costs of life. I like to explore this in my science fiction stories. We're already very tired of the muscular man that saves the day. We want to see the old people that save the day, the Black Brazilians that save the day, young people who's fighting with multiple jobs, getting on packed buses to work, and single mother families, non-standard families, families fabricated by communities. We have a lot of that here. And because being Brazilian doesn't mean going to the beach and playing soccer, reality is very different from that. We're not two-dimensional. And that is a risk that we can't take. We can't sell ourselves as two-dimensional to please the outside markets. I'm speaking from a point of view because I'm writing a lot in English, and I'm speaking to a point of view of someone who is writing in English and don't want to conform to some modes and what is expected in the Anglophone markets, because we risk that others might take a very different image of who we are. And I don't know if I spoke too much. Is it okay, Jana?
Yeah, no, it's okay. Also, while you were talking, I remember that, I don't remember who said that, but it was yesterday or the day before. We were talking about this, like, how the editors from outside Brazil expect something from outside all the places, but we were talking about Brazil, expect something, and they were talking about a story about homeless children. And I think it was you who said that about, I don't know. And yeah, I don't, maybe it was not. And then the people say, somebody from the US, I guess, say, no, there's no homeless children. No, they
yes, it was me.
Yeah, they would be like in a foster house or in some living in the street. That makes no sense. And it's like really sad to think that we have this reality here, but we have, and then we need, or we should talk about that too, right?
Yeah, it was in a critic group. They said that.
Yeah.
And also another people said, why was I setting a story in São Paulo? What's the reason for São Paulo? So these people thought I had to set the story somewhere else in England or United States. They were
it's like as if
outraged because it was São Paulo.
Yeah. As if you need like a bigger reason for that's like where I live, and not in your case, but just like the country you live.
Yeah.
So, Claudia, do you want to add on that?
Yeah. So, I don't write about, when I write, I don't think about writing about folklore creators or favela or poor people. I don't used to think about it when I'm writing. Because we are those things and beyond of those things. Of course, I used to write about poor people, and poor people fighting poor people, as in Matando Gigantes. The beginning of Matando Gigantes show this reality in an allegorical way, that poor people kill poor people in outskirts, in outlying ghettos. This is the thing. The smallest one kill the less smaller than that. And I, of course, I used to write about people that are kind of free to express themselves, free to express their sexuality, their bodies, because we are not ashamed of our body, as a lot of people from other countries are. I like writing some Brazilian funky music lyrics in my stories. I like to write in these. I like funk. I'm a São Paulo old lady, but I like funk. Que eu vou, porque eu estou tentando tirar das minhas, I try to take out of my notes the things that Renan already said. Well, I like to discuss social issues as in Honda, and this is a thing that I think I write in when I I talk about solar punk is that if this kind of thing, this solar sustainable society way of living arrived to a city as São Paulo, we are going to have an eco-gentrified city. You know, the most part of the population is out of here. I wrote a tale about it called Ronda that is in São Paulo, I'm sorry. And it's about a class struggle and inequality and a trans woman that acquires superpower because she has 2 devices in his body. And this city is under a strict surveillance because of the eco-gentrified place that couldn't be invaded by who doesn't understand what they are doing. So this is the point of view we have here. It's different from the other places. The heroes are not rich, are not powerful. They are poor people. They are those who we are on the out of the power of money. Okay, I want to add something that I think is important when you write Brazilian literature. This is something that bothers me a bit. Brazilian artists tend to think that content that matters. Just the content that matters. How we see the world and how we read our own literature is that matters. Our language matters. What I know, it's a lot of Anglicism. I'm not talking about download or using words as download or add or WhatsApp. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about the tide of foreign literature translated from English that put us out of thinking according to our own identity. That huge part of us that is the language. Brazilian Portuguese. When I decided something, I decided to write a book, a long history, as I'm doing right now. I usually read only Brazilian Portuguese and Brazilian authors for 2 or 3 months in advance. I don't used to read English literature or translated literature. I think it's important to think about that. Do we really need to be out of here in English? Or what we need is to be translated from Portuguese to English? That's my point.
Yeah, and this is a point that was discussed a lot in other panels. So if you who are watching,
yes, I was working.
Yeah, no, but if you who is in the chat didn't watch it, please go, because we talked a lot about that. Not only about Brazilian being translated to English, but also all the different languages being translated to English. We talked about markets and everything like that. I think it's a great conversation. And also, as a writer who writes in Portuguese and in English, that's when I started to write in English, I realized how I shape ideas and how I shape things depending on which language I'm writing. And I was surprised, because I thought, okay, I will write my own writing in English. It's okay. There's this obstacle of writing in another language, but it's not. It's very different. So I think we should. We also talk a lot about how when you read, translate. I am a translator, so I have a lot of interest in translating books. But when you read something that was translated, it's totally different from reading something that was written in Portuguese. So I think this is a very important thing to talk, not only for writers but for readers too. So we are like, it's totally different, and will be, it also, I think it touches what we were talking about, not homogenizing. So
Yes.
when you read different origins of, even if you write only if even if you read only in Portuguese, but read translated stories to Portuguese, or stories that were translated, originally written in Portuguese, it's very important to have this balance. Let's say like that. I will just make a comment from the chat, and then I will ask Waldson to add what he has to add. That's something about the what Renan said about why did you choose to write this story in São Paulo. Ilimani Ferreira, who is a writer who lives in the US and has a novel just released there. He said that there's this backlash too. It's set in the LA. The protagonist is Brazilian, but lots of readers were asking him why it's not set in Brazil. You know, it's like the protagonist is a Brazilian, it's set in LA, Los Angeles, and people are like, oh, why didn't write why didn't you write it set in Brazil? So there's also this expectation, you know, you are Brazilian, you are writing, of course you need to write something set in Brazil. So this discussion is huge. But first, I would like to ask Waldson to add on this, talk about your works and what the Brazilian experience is reflected in your work.
One of my goals with the works that have been published and those that already are going to be released is write Black and LGBT protagonists, because I grew up with few reference of characters like me, especially in the speculative fiction. And for now, I don't see any point in writing other type of characters. And thinking about Oceanic, there are no elements of Brazilian aesthetics or place, because they start take place in a world where it's a post-apocalyptic world, and the cities are built on the back of giant creatures because people cannot live on the surface anymore. And so the government is trying to make a secret project that with nanotechnology that will supposed to help society to regain the surface. But one of the things that happen in the book, and I will already get to the point that connect with some things that are more like the 3%, is that even with Oceanic being a creature that dives in Pacific Ocean in the Brazilian coast, the book has a central element that motivates the characters. Some cities are small and poor, and another ones are really big and with technology. And from the ones that is small, it's very expensive to live them. So in the book, there's a few characters that who decide to jump from one city to another, because there is a moment when two turtles pass by each other. They pass really close, and if you run really fast and jump, you can go to another city. But it's really, really risky to do that. And if you miss the jump, you may die. And I think that I begin to start to think how this look like the myth of meritocracy, because that believes, they say we can all have the same achievement in regardless the context that we live and the oppressions you may experience. So in Oceanic, the opportunities are limited by space that people are born. So it's like the opportunity is there, but it's not the same way you can achieve a better life or go on to another city. And I think that's it, the main things that I'm working. Of course, I'm still, this book I released last year, so I really have a few works published yet, but we will see what happens in the next ones.
Nice, I'm curious already. And I like it how you said about this kind of metaphor for a big social problem, because this is deeply related to science fiction at all, like in the whole world. Science fiction was always a tool for showing problems from our society, and that's very nice how you can, like, when with this very interesting and very different metaphor, put an experience of being Brazilian without also I will just make a point here with the question from the public, we can discuss later, that's about how doing that without exotize or using stereotypes from the Brazilian experience. We already talked a little bit about that, how people expect it from us. And this is a very nice example. Oceanic is a very nice example how you can talk about this problem that's very important and that's huge in Brazil, that's central, maybe the worst problem, social problem, that's also touches with the race problem because they are quite related. How to do that in a metaphor, so I think it's very nice. We have a lot of questions already, but I would like to make the last question from our script, because it's a quite different question, I guess, because Waldson said that, no, Renan said that we need hopeful stories right now because we are like the whole world was like miserable, but we are I don't want to make a competition here, but I think we are like more miserable. And I would like to imagine a future where let's link lots of things. So let's link future science fiction that has a lot to do with future. That's why this event is called future fiction. And that's there also have a big relationship with technology. And I would like to propose an imagination exercise here, that we think that in the future, I don't know how many years in the future, I hope it's like close, Brazil is being recognized for the whole world for a new technology that was developed by our scientists that are brave, are doing science without resources, without support, and they're brave and they're doing incredible things. So I think this is not a really crazy thing to imagine. I would like to know which technology you imagine we would be known for, also based on our experience of being Brazilian. How do you think we would develop in the future? So start with Renan too.
So that's easy. An artificial intelligence that fabricates memes. No, I'm kidding. I'm thinking about the concept of bioremediation. I didn't think about something very specific, but I thought actually about a field of science. Bioremediation is the introduction of microorganisms in an environment to treat damages and pollution. I think it's very Brazilian because we have a lot of biodiversity here. For decades, we've been slowly destroying it. In recent days, we had an intense destruction of our wetlands and grasslands in our western region, and our Amazon forest is burning since last year. And most people, if not all, working there are volunteers. So if we could somehow use this concept of bioremediation, automating the proliferation of microorganisms to heal the environment, it would be great, because I think it wouldn't even use a huge amount of resources. And we have some, Brazil always has problems with having funding and resources. So if we could have something that is automatic in this way, of course it wouldn't stop the fires, but it could heal the damage that has been done.
Oh, very nice. And also, while you were talking, I remember there's a project here near my city. I don't remember which city it is, but when we had like Aedes aegypti proliferating dengue, they did something like they released some mosquitoes that had a, I don't remember exactly, I don't remember if it was another bacteria or something like that, but they would kill the other ones, not fighting. They would like, when they try to reproduce, they wouldn't produce more mosquitoes, and that like dropped a lot the amount of mosquitoes and of course of dengue proliferation. So I think it's something that is being done, and I think it's a nice field of research. I love it. Please write about it. We can read it. So Clau.
About the mosquitoes, we have had a solution here in my building. We build a pound and fill the pound with frogs. I have frogs in my condominium.
Yeah, it's great. Here in my home,
Yes,
we don't kill any spiders. We just say, please, spider, just eat all the mosquitoes.
yes. About technology, I borrowed an idea because I think it is the top idea, the only idea. And about technology, this is a conundrum. My answer is less technology. As machines, computers, spacecraft as possible. Less technology. At the same time, we won't survive without technology because we are 7.8 top eaters, top predators. We are the deers in Yosemite Park. Who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Just the search, deers, Yosemite Park, wolf. So you see how deers are damaging Yosemite Park and how they heal the park. We are the deers. We are the top predators. And my answer is a little sad. I only can think about a technology that I saw a few years ago in a short story from Roberto Spindler. Roberto Spindler is an author from the north of Brazil, Amazon region, and about an implant that allow us to live without eating. So we don't need to eat anymore. We don't need a plantation. We need to damage the environment to eat. This short history is available in English. It is in the book Solar Punk. It's called The Sun in the Heart. And it's the only way. I think that we allow us to live a little more because we are damned. We are completely damned. Maybe we have 50 to 60 years to live. Even if we find a way, it will be available for few, maybe the 1% richer. So I think that my granddaughter that will be born next month won't be able to live as much as I live. I'm 61. So why keep on writing? Why we should persist in telling stories if there will be nobody to listen, or that there will be nobody to be able to understand what we say. This is not a random fact that solar punk being a thing nowadays. We have hope. We dream, we thrive. Since the day we put a foot on the earth, it's not a new thing to us. It's just the end of the things. My way of fighting till the end is writing. With or without eating. Sorry for the sad answer.
No, yeah. No, I think you're totally right. And also while you were talking, I remember about something that's also, it's not exclusively Brazilian, but it's very Brazilian. That's when you talk about less technology, we're not talking about no science or no or nothing like that, because
Yeah,
we are in a place where
yeah,
people knows intrinsically which plants to use to cure and
yeah.
which things they
The
do, like
technology,
knowledge,
the technology
traditional college.
I'm talking about is less computer,
Yeah,
less device.
yeah. And why not to use all this knowledge, this
Uh,
traditional knowledge that's being like lost because people are
uh,
dying and we don't care.
uh,
Like,
you are a food engineer.
mm-hmm,
You know that without those machines,
mm-hmm,
we could die
mm-hmm,
starvation. You know that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
It's not there is nothing that we can really do to stop it.
Mm-hmm. And also, there's very interesting. We were talking, I don't remember which panel, but we talked about Francesco Verso, talked about the story of that wrote that people are have some algae, or I don't remember which exactly which was in the skin, and they did like synthetic what's the name, photosynthesis, synthetic
Yes,
photosynthesis,
yes,
and that they didn't need to eat that much, and also
yes.
reduces the amount of food.
The same plot of Roberto Spindler.
Oh, nice. I
Story.
really want
The
to read the story.
same, yes. And this story
Great.
is touching because it's about a father that is about to make to put implant in his 7 years old kid. So the kid is stopping to eat.
Mm.
He's stopping to feel the pleasure of eating.
Mm. Yeah, very nice. Waldson?
I think my answer goes on the way of what Renan said, because last week I was reading Down by Octavia Butler, and I keep thinking about the things that we can still can do, because Octavia Butler like to, especially on the Earthseed books, she's telling us uh, that if we keep in doing things on the way that we're doing, we may end up on the things that she is showing to us. So and considering everything that is happening with the wildfires that is happening right now, uh, I think that a great solution will be to create a technology, I don't know, that in some way can change plants and make them super resistant and grow up faster, and that cannot be longer destroyed by human hands, for example. And I really think that great solutions will be to solve things that are these urgent problems, and we take care more about our planet.
Great. And we reached like the 1 hour panel, and now we can answer a couple of questions from the chat. A lot of people send different questions on different topics, so we'll try to group some of them, so we can answer more questions. So first, let's start going back to the first theme that talking about market and editing and things like that. We have a question from Paulo Vinicius asking like, which would be the next steps for the Brazilian authors? And if and he himself he poses some kind of two ways that he proposes as like we should like reinforce the divulgation and the publication here in Brazil for Brazilian readers, or we should try to reach more public to make like a diaspora for writing outside. So I will ask each one of you to answer like quicker, because then we can go through more questions. But I would like to make a comment on that, because I think this is we need to take the third path, the mid of those two things. I think we shouldn't by any means forget the Brazilian market and don't try to make it grow and have more authors and more publishing houses. But we also have a lot of things to offer to not only the Anglophone market but the whole world. So I think we should always think on, at the same time, doing translations for I think Renan said that, for China, for Chinese, for I don't know, other languages, for Spanish. We are in Latin America. We have our people here who have this very mature writing that Claudia said in the beginning of our discussion. So I think we should also go through this way. But let's hear you, Renan.
I also agree with what you said. I think making our fiction international is different than making our fiction Anglophone or English. I think spreading the Brazilian fiction throughout the world is good because, as it's happening now with China, it brings funding, it brings attention, it brings opportunities, and that's good. But I think we still have a lot of ground to cover here inside Brazil, because we are still, like I said before, we are still very much centered in São Paulo and Rio. We are a continent, almost a continent, so we have a lot of places to reach before striving to be global. I think, but I think it is important because it brings attention, it brings funding. I saw in the panel earlier that that's happening in South Korea now. They are bringing a lot of attention to South Korean fiction because they are seeing that the world is interested in that. I think that's true also with music in South Korea, with BTS, for example. And I think we should do that in Brazil, not only for literature, but with culture in general.
Good. Claudia?
I'm going for the Korean example that Renan uses. So South Korean spreading culture is a governmental issue. This is not random. This is a project, you know? South Korea is a future offer to the world. So entertainment is a service, a lucrative service. And in this way, we need the support of the government to do a thing like China and South Korea are doing. This is the first point. The second point, sorry, I'm don't disagree with Renan Bernardo, but I just wanted to put a foot down forward. And I think it's not a balance thing, you know, it's not an equal thing. I think we can invest more in our market and less in show our product, because it is a product to foreign markets. I think you can say like 7% and 30%. You know, we need to make people value their own product, their own literature, their own culture first, and then we can move to the other step. This is my opinion.
Great. Waldson?
I think I agreed with everyone, and I especially with what Jana said about third wave. I think we can do the both things, aim to the international market, but it's more important to reinforce our literature here because we have so much to do and so much step to take, and the we can do is reading authors and comment on social media and things like that. I think we can do the both.
Great. And we have another question that's specifically for you, Waldson. That's about how do the relation between your academic career and your writing career. So there's like two questions that I put together. Carol asked, how does your academic research influence your fiction writing? And how is the role of research in humanities for science fiction writing? And also Uva asked more or less the same topic. How do academic intellectuals become good writers? And I think it's very nice because you're in a position that you are researching what you write to, right? So I think it's very interesting.
I think actually there was a moment in my life that I was unable to write fiction because I was so concerned about the concept and the ideas that I was studying. And that I was like, what I'm writing is really Afrofuturism. So I kept creating these obstacles for myself. But I think one point that is important is because when you have the theory, you can see how this is going on a practical way. So I'm not saying that that was a waste of time in no way, because open so much doors for me study Afrofuturism. But I think you have to be focused on the things you want to do, and at the same time understand that your work doesn't have to be perfect. What about you was saying on the theory, because it's two different things, and I think we can never on fiction put all the theory that as for myself, I was it was hard, and if I tried to put all the theories on my fiction, I may not finish the fiction. So I think is a good way to look to the both sides, because with the theories I was thinking about representation and the things that I made do or not with my work. So I think that the most important is to try to think different, that this is fiction, this is theory.
And it's very difficult because when you talk about some genres and things like that, you are talking about definition that I'm sure you know that much more than me, but you're talking about fiction that were analyzed later. So like it was, people just wrote things and then later somebody said, oh, see, these people are writing more or less the same thing. And I think that must be very difficult to you, like how to fit on that, but at the same time, do things that later can lead to another kind of genre or things like that. Yeah. So I'm very interested in that.
And I may have to let go and think, when I was finished Oceanic, I have to think, I don't care if people will say that is Afrofuturism or not. I just wanted to finish, and it's gonna be my work. So it doesn't have to be Afrofuturism just because I studied this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's right, because that was, you had to see to people to write, right? So I like it. Very nice. Let me see. There's some questions that are very polemic, so I leave them, like one of them I will leave this question like to the very end. So yeah, so people don't get crazy. But just one comment that I won't ask it because I think we already touched a little bit, but I think it's nice to mention that people are asking how we're doing with what's our relationship with Latin literature, and I can say that unfortunately is not you know, I can say by myself, I read like big writers, Latin American writers, Isabel Allende, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and others, but I don't know nothing about what's happening in Latin America science fiction or fantasy or even magical realism currently. I've read like As Coisas que Perdemos As Coisas que Perdemos no Fogo from Mariana Enriquez from Argentina, and I love it, but it's like only that. So I don't know if any of you have something to do about that, what you are writing or what do you know about Latin America contemporaneous? Let's talk about contemporaneous stuff now. Just one point. I think we had from after Relampeio, we had a short story from Teresa Miravete from Argentina too, publishing by Monomito, Tony's publishing house. But I don't know, what do you think? Maybe did you research something about that, Waldson too, or?
No, when I was
Just Brazil.
study was just Brazilian fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I was corrected. I totally mispronounced the Teresa Mira de Echeverria. I pronounced her name wrong. Sorry, Teresa, if you're watching. Somebody has something to add? Okay, so I think we are like, we need to know more. We need to talk more with our neighbors, because it's great literature, and yeah, and I feel like kind of guilty of not knowing and reading more. So I think we should do that.
I've been reading some stories by Teresa. I read recently Therapist Core. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but Therapist Core, I think, the name of the story. And I read
English or
yes, in English.
English. Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't read very well in Spanish actually, and I read also They Will Dream in the Garden by Gabriela Damian Miravete, who is also a panelist.
Yeah, I mixed the both names. That's why I said everything wrong. Sorry.
I read nonfiction from Latin America. I like to read history books, political books, but not fiction. I think I need to start to read more.
Yeah. We could, yeah, now we have like Teresa's short story published in Portuguese.
I read it quite well in Spanish, so.
Yeah, that's cute. And now we have Constellation, that's a new magazine that will be publishing science fiction in Spanish and English. I think the same stories in Spanish and English, and I think it's very nice. I'm looking forward for reading this. I think it's going to be very nice. Let me see. We still have some time, so I think we can do like 1 or 2 questions more, and then the polemic question. Let me see. Oh, this is nice. Morgana asked, Brazilian culture, Brazilian people as a whole always had nice, fantastic stories in our day-to-day life through TV. And even in soap operas, we had some fantastic soap operas with fantastic elements and things like that. And things that were recognized like worldwide. And she's saying about the Complexo do Vira-Lata. Why do we think that what we produce is not worth or is lesser than, I don't know, some fantastic stories from outside? I would like to know, what do you think?
I don't think so. I never think about it. I think we are a great author.
No, yeah, I think too. But if you say to somebody, oh, this is a very nice story, it's written by a Brazilian, there's a lot of people who say, okay, I don't want to read it. You know, like, it's not that good.
I think this is a kind of build. It's not us. It's a build politically to diminish our interest in our own culture. It's not a kind of how can I say, social phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a political phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Waldson or Renan, do you want to add something on that?
Yeah, I think it's part of an imperialist point of view. I think it doesn't happen only with us. It happens a lot with other countries that were colonized somehow, and it's a mentality that we have to try to get rid of. Personally, I remember one science fiction soap opera that I would call it science fiction, but it was only marginally science fiction. O Clone, it's a soap opera
It's true.
that I really liked.
Yeah, it's true. It's whoa! I have now my head like exploded. Oh, clone is science fiction. My God, it's
Yeah.
true. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a nice point. And also, I remember that when 3% did a lot of success in the foreign countries, people here insist on saying, "Oh, that's not that good. Oh, the production is not that good." And outside Brazil, there like, of course, there are different opinions on that, but it was like very well received. There's like I don't know 3 or 4 seasons. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the last ones. So, but for it was like renewed several times, so this is crazy how it's future. And I think it's very what Claudia said about being political, it's very interesting too, because we are in a culture where it's kind of paradoxal writing, because at the same time people think that you are rich and you are like very the most intelligent person in the world just because you write, but on the other hand people say, oh, okay, this is not like we're just playing, you write, and also what do you do for a living, or like what's your work? If you answer I write, people say no, what's your actual work? So that's quite crazy. Let me see. Oh, Waldson has they have another question related to writing for for the academy and for fiction, and they are asking if do you feel some when you write critical works, if you think it I'm trying to translate at the same time, if you think it's like it's something harder when you write your own fiction, if it makes it harder to write your own fiction.
I don't know. I think I feel more insecure with the fiction, to write fiction, because I think I feel less in control what I'm doing. So and that's is part of writing fiction. Sometimes you just to have to let go and see what things will end up being. Sometimes you organize things, but in the end you have another work totally different. And on the academic part, I have theory, so I'm not going from nowhere. So I have two readings that I can approach and apply to what I'm doing. And I don't know if because I started to work in a professional way first with academic writing and then with fiction, that I think because of the time I feel more secure with the academic writing. So, but I think all is practical and trying to find a better way to do things.
Right. And I'm sure that one thing also helps on the other, like a long time at least. As you say, you think you are exercising your writing either way. Like it's not the same, but you're exercising your writing. So I think we're almost in the end of our conversation. So I will do this question that was I think Fernanda Castro who sent it. And she's asking, let me find it here, the real question. She says, I'm asking this for a friend who wants to fire in the parquinho. Question, is a Brazilian writer who writes only in English considered Brazilian literature? I will start on that because I think it's a great wrap up of everything that we talked, and I think it depends. Always, this is the standard answer. Depends, because I think if it's a Brazilian writer writing about general topics in general settings and something that any other person in the world could write, or not any other person in the world, I will go further. If a Anglophone writer could write it in English, I think I don't want to enter in the definitions, but I think we are not talking about that in this panel as an example. However, if it's a writer who is writing about how they feel as a Brazilian and how they experience the fact they are Brazilian, I think this would be Brazilian science fiction or Brazilian work, even if it's only written in English for their whole life. So I think it's nice because it touches the point we're talking about, the experience of being a Brazilian, how we could talk about that in different languages, in different concepts and different settings, but still be talking about be a Brazilian. But I want to hear from you.
I think here we have if this person is a Brazilian writer and he lives there its entire life in Brazil, and move to a foreign country and start to analyze the foreign country from a Brazilian point of view. It's kind of when you see movie directors like Wim Wenders filming in America. The Wim Wenders movies that takes place in America, it's not an American movie. It's this way to see America, and so I think we in this specific way we can consider a Brazilian.
Yeah, it's all about like point of view, right?
Yes, point of view.
Renan or Waldson, do you have something to add on that?
I think I agree that depends on the works he's trying to do, because everything we do, we put our perspective, but at the same time, if the point of the book is to, like you were saying, Jana, to set in another country or just talk about that specifically context, I think, or maybe if this book never gets to Brazilian public, I think we have to look for. I think there is no right answer for this question, because we have to look for each work that we're talking about.
Yeah, each case. Yeah. And Renan, do you want to add something on that, or?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think English became sort of a global language unintentionally. So a lot of people end up writing in English somehow. I forgot what I was going to add. Yeah, I think I agree with what you said. If a Brazilian, I remember, if a Brazilian writes, it's like what I said before. If we imitate too much with an American person, for example, writes, then okay, you are Brazilian, but no one will notice you are Brazilian. So it's kind of a generic literature.
Yeah. And also, like, why? I mean, I don't want to, say like, oh, don't do this because you're wrong. There's no right answer, as Waldson said, but we are talking about making our point of view being heard. And like, if you are just saying things that other people said, you're just, I don't know if how much you're adding to any discussion, but that's it. So I think we are finished. We don't have any time anymore, so I would like to make like final remarks, and then first I will ask you to very briefly say to people where people can find you in the internet, so they can read more about your works. And all the bios from all the participants from FutureCon are in our website. But if you're now at Twitter and things like that, let's go, Renan.
You can find me at my website, which is www.renanbernardo.com. There's an English and a Portuguese version. And you can find me through a Twitter at Renan Bernardo.
Great. Claudia?
You can find me in my social media. Claudia Du is my name in social media. Claudia Dugim is a unique name, so it's easy to find. And you can see a lot about me in WordPress, Claudia Du. I have a blog in WordPress called Claudia Du.
Great. Good. Waldson?
On social media, I'm Waldson _ and I also had a blog that is called Cósmica Viagem WordPress, and I think it's
great. So first, I would like to thank you for coming. It was a great conversation. We could talk about like 5 hours more. They need to cut it in 5 minutes. They will turn off her connection. I'm kidding, but thank you very much for coming. And the next panel, we have another panel today, the last panel for today, that's in 1.5 hours from now, it will start, is a panel about the global SF roundtable and how editors can, as Waldson say, how editors can make things different, what's their power, what's their how they could shape differently what we read and how we see the things that people write. I want to reinforce that you could enter in our Discord server to discuss about that. So there's a room channel there for this panel. If you did some question here that wasn't answered and you want to discuss there, we'll be there. All of the panelists today are there, so you could find Waldson, Claudia, and Renan there too if you want to talk about anything. If you want to support FutureCon, go to our website, futureconsf.com, and you can support with any value you want. So we could pay all the arts and all the wonderful website and the technical support here. Thank you, Thiago Lee, for making this happen. He's our tech guy, tech magician. I also want to thank again Fabio Fernandes for being in the chat, talking with people. He's in the keyboards, as Anna Hushi said. And also Jana, who picked the questions and the comments and sent it to me. Thank you a lot. And the last thing that we wanted to say is that tomorrow we have the last day of event. We have 4 panels, the same time of all the days. And after the last panel, the last panel of the day, we'll have a Zoom party. So maybe you want to join us. We'll just talk. It's a party. It's just a place where you can talk about science fiction and new other people. So if you want to be there, just be there. Oh, I didn't say, you can find me in Twitter too. I'm Jana Bianchi with CHI in the end. And that's it. So thank you a lot. Thank you for everybody who's in the chat talking with us. And see you in the next panel. Yay. I don't know if it's already ended. We just need to